My definition of when a recession ends is when real GDP per capita, because the population gets back to where it was sometime earlier. I mean, until it gets back there, as collectively, we're worse off in this country. We are out of the recession. Now, that is not the NBER's.
All the talk about a looming recession may have you worried about your finances. You aren't alone. Some 74% of U.S. consumers are concerned about a recession, according to a new survey from Empower and Personal Capital. In addition, 85% are worried about inflation and 56% are already seeing their standard of living declining, according to the survey of 2,000 U.S. adults conducted by the Harris Poll between April 19 and 23. The odds of a recession vary, depending on whom you asked, with Goldman Sachs pegging it at a 30% probability within the next year, and UBS standing by its base case forecast of no recession. Meanwhile, ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood and Wharton finance professor Jeremiah Siegel believe the U.S. is already in an economic downturn.
With this legislation, we should pass this today and get moving. I know the compromise on the inflation bill doesn't include everything that I've been pushing for since I got to office. For example, I'm going to keep fighting in the future to bring down the cost of things for working families and middle-class families that matter by providing for affordable and accessible things like affordable childcare, affordable elder care, preschool, the cost of preschool, housing, keeping students with helping students with the cost of college, closing the health care coverage gap. You know, it's a fancy way of saying the health care coverage gap, expanding Medicaid in states that refuse to do it, and more. Look, this bill is far from perfect. It's a compromise.
If a recession is inevitable, here are some financial moves you can make to prepare. Inflation is at a 40-year high, interest rates are rising, and gas prices have hit a frightening $5 a gallon. The stock market is taking investors on a roller coaster ride with terrifying drops. Even if you haven't looked lately, you know that the value of your retirement account is down. Cryptocurrencies are crashing, not surprisingly. And now you're hearing that we may be in a recession or one is inevitable. You remember the Great Recession and how harsh it was for so many. So telling you to calm down or that this too shall pass doesn't address the anxiety you're feeling about your financial well-being. It's okay that you don't feel things are okay. But what you shouldn't do is make moves based on recessionary fears that can put you in a worse position financially. Recessions don't last forever. First, don't do this. While there are money moves you can take to help ride out a downturn that generally shouldn't include bailing out of the stock market. The worst thing people can do is they get nervous and pull money out of the market, said Jordan Rippey, a personal finance expert and accounting professor at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. Most people should be invested in the market for the long term. Follow these points to beat up recession. 1. Update your resume. The labor market has been hot for job seekers, but that will change if a recession hits. People have to prepare for less overall job security, Deere said. With employment being at all-time highs, naturally employment will decrease. So it's smart to update your resume now so you are ready if there are layoffs. Also, if you have considered going back to school to get an advanced degree or improving your work skills, now may be the time to do it, said CFP Diane Lasses, managing principal at PPAC Private Wealth Management in New Providence, New Jersey. It improves your opportunities for employment in the future regardless of the type of economy, she said. 2. Don't be afraid of a bear market. You may not even know what a bear market is, but you're prone to be petrified of one. This week, the S&P 500 index slid into a bear market, which is defined as a 20% drop from a recent high. The average duration of a bear market since 1950 is roughly 418 days, according to Anthony Saglambini, global market strategist for Ameriprise Financial. Just shift your view a little bit and look at this as an opportunity if you're a longer-term investor, Saglambini said. 3. Don't try to time the market. A lot of folks may want to get out of the stock market or reduce what they're investing until things get better. That is the definition of trying to time the market. It's impossible to know the best time to get out and when to jump back in. Most people, most mere mortals, are not able to time the market, said Mark Hamrick, senior economic analyst for Bankard. Even Warren Buffett would admit that. Once we reach the low point in the bear market, stock returns for the S&P 500 tend to be above average, Saad Limbeen said. 4. Get rid of your credit card debt now. Job number 1 for anyone with a credit card is to pay off their balances as soon as possible, said Matt Scholes, chief credit analyst at LendingTree. When a recession may be on the way and interest rates are rising rapidly, it's even more important. One way to tackle the debt is to get a low-interest personal loan or sign up for a balance transfer credit card. You can dig out of the debt a lot faster if you transfer high-interest debt to a credit card with a 0% rate. 5. Stockpile savings. Save while you have the extra money because a recession can quickly change your circumstances. If you don't have a good emergency fund, consider canceling a vacation or putting off an expensive renovation project that isn't necessary. For many people right now, this inflation problem is akin to an emergency, Emmerich said. You won't want to have to resort to debt if you lose your job, or because your wages aren't keeping up with historically high inflation, he said. Also, consider that the standard advice of having 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses may not be enough. 6. Establish a backup to your emergency fund. In addition to having a recession rainy day fund, Benz recommends figuring out where you might go for additional funds if you needed them in a pinch. A home equity line of credit can make sense in this context, and it's best to obtain it when you're employed and most likely to qualify, she said. 7. Don't underestimate the power of having bonds in your retirement portfolio. Typically, when stocks are down, bonds balance out your stock holdings, but bond prices have been hit as well. Still, in previous recessions, bonds have held up better than nearly any other market segment, Benz pointed out. In other words, don't throw them overboard because they're not performing well right now, she said. They're an essential portfolio ingredient, especially for people who are in or getting close to retirement. 8. Get a side gig. Many employers are begging for workers. There are a record number of job openings, with the unemployment rate at 3.6%. The economy saw job gains in transportation, warehousing, leisure and hospitality, education, health services, and government, according to the Labor Department. But there is obviously a risk that unemployment could rise, Hamrick said. Even if you don't need the money right now, it may be a good time to get a second job or find work in the gig economy to boost your income and savings. Now's the time to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Alright guys, this is it for today's video. If you found this information helpful, then don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any suggestions, then let us know in the comment section below.